What are we humans made of? Why are we here? Why are our feet planted firmly on the earth and sky canopied above our head? What else is out there? What exactly is the universe? These were the kinds of questions that filled my head and fueled my imagination as a child. Like a lot of kids, I was exceedingly curious to know more about the world around me and, more importantly, about my place in it. Who was I and how had I come to be here? My constant quest for answers meant the adults around me were forced to pacify me with explanations that seemed satisfactory at the time. But having delved deeper into the field of science, and particularly astronomy since, the facts I have found were quite different from what I was told as a child. When I asked him how many stars are there in the night sky, for instance, my father had promptly replied 900,000, and I had taken his words for it. Now I know that is far from the accurate guess. In fact, there are estimated sextillion stars in the universe, a number whose sheer scale my younger self could not possibly have grasped. How many is a sextillion? Let's do some mental exercise. We generally measure a country's population in millions. Nepal's population, for example, is around 27.5 million. Then comes a billion. Think about it. If we began counting to a billion right after we were born, so as a number per second, we would be 32 years old when we finally reach the last number. Next up is a trillion. I would not recommend trying to count up to that either. That would take you 32,000 years and would frankly be a waste of your precious time. Trillion is followed by lesser known quadrillion. To put into perspective, it is said that till that 160 quadrillion sounds have been uttered since the beginning of the time. Then we have even lesser known quintillion, said to be equal to the number of sand particles on all the beaches surrounding the world ocean. Finally, we come to the sextillion, which comprises a staggering 21 zeros after the 1, and that is the number of stars in the sky. Of course, even this is just an estimate. There may be more, much more in reality. The universe, after all, is constantly expanding, evolving, much as we do in our lives. Although there are many who assume knowing more about the universe, as I do now, and in such practical, tangible terms, would have put an end to its mystic, its glorious mysteries, well, my experience has been quite the opposite. The more I learn about the world around me, the more captivated I am by its incredible scale and design. Take the fact that everything follows a cycle. Humans, animals, plants, no matter how different we are, our days are all numbered. A ticking clock within us that is set between birth and death. And the stars, distant though they might be, like us, they too are born, passes through a number of stages from stellar nebula to protostar throughout their long lives and finally die. This death can occur in two ways. Depending on the initial mass of the star, it could either become a white dwarf or red giant or supergiant. Larger stars tend to experience a catastrophic collapse of their core when they consume all of their hydrogen fuel for nuclear fusion, resulting in a supernova explosion that blows the outer layer away. Our sun itself is said to be moving towards becoming a white dwarf. It might boggle the mind to think that our puny human forms have anything at all in common with these ginormous glowing masses we see flung out in the heavens. But there is still more that we share, if we really think about it. We must all recall the crazy chart called periodic table that was mounted on the walls in the chemistry lab at school or found peeking out of our science books. So many elements, the basic chemical building blocks of a complex world. But where did all these came from? Were they formed on Earth? The answer is no. They came from the stars, were cooked in their core before being blasted furiously into the space when they collapsed, coming to take up the region of an interstellar cloud that would eventually become the Sun and its planets. And these are the very same elements that have come to constitute our bodies. Like astronomer Carl Sagan writes, the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were made in the interior of a collapsing star. The next time one feels a sense of alienation, of feeling too small and insignificant in this great, vast cosmos of ours, it is comforting to remember that each of the atoms in our body come from somewhere far, far away, connected to a long-gone twinkle in the sky. We are all, to put it simply, made of stardust.